one of my favorite concepts that I learned in psychology undergrad is fundamental attribution error. Attribution errors in general I found to be very fascinating, but most especially the fundamental attribution error and the actor-observer difference or actor-observer effect. I hadn't yet planned a topic for today. I have some things in my topic bank, but I hadn't yet planned what I was going to talk about today. And then I read this article by Carla Starr. And I kept reading more stuff that because I think her writing is great. I don't know how I've never seen her before. And I stumbled onto the final one that led to this podcast episode, which is around everything is rational, the theory of relativity, everything is relative, right? And it just got me thinking about the fundamental attribution error and the attribution biases that we have. And for those who are not familiar, the concept of attribution in psychology is about how people perceive um everyday experiences and the causes of those experiences. So what they ascribe as the reason for something happening. Basically, that's like a very simple, elementary way of explaining what it is. Basically, why did something happen? So the reason that you give or the meaning that you give for why something happened is what attribution focuses on. And there are of course criticisms of the theory and the approach and everything, but like that's not what I'm talking about today. The fundamental attribution error is when people only think about personality reasons for why something happened. So if you see something happen, like maybe you're on the road and you see a car drive past a red light, your attribution of like the meaning that you give to that event or the cause, the thing that you think about as the cause of that event is probably that, oh, this person is just a rough driver. And that is you ascribing the cause of that behavior to their personality instead of thinking about maybe they have a person in their car bleeding to death and they're trying to get to the hospital, right? Which will be then attributing thinking about the external factors, the context outside of the person that could be causing their action. The actor observer effect or actor observer difference is like a second layer of the foundational attribution error, which is that when you are describing the cause of your own behavior, you tend to think about the situation and the context and things outside of your control, versus when you're trying to describe other people's behavior, then you think more about their personality than situational context, especially when it's quote unquote bad behavior or behavior that is classified as bad. So, for example, someone speeding past a red light. So, if you were in that situation, if you were the driver in that situation, you will ascribe that your action to I'm in a hurry, I need to get somewhere, I need to take this person to the hospital, or I need to make an appointment or meet an appointment or something. But for somebody else that you have observed doing the exact same thing that you just did or that you're doing, you're then ascribing it to their personality. They're just a terrible driver, or they're just a person that is bad. Basically, that's the idea between the actor observer difference. So you see this a lot in like the pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all those kinds of things. Where it's like if somebody is poor, it's because they are lazy or they are unserious or whatever, without thinking about like whatever contextual or situational things that could have led to that kind of thing happening. And the reverse is also something that we do for good things, when good things happen or when there's good behavior. So if someone and it depends on where you stand, right? And there are many things that go into how we make those immediate judgments about people's behaviors and things. So if someone is rich or they score well on a test, you may say that, oh, this person only scored well on the test because the teacher likes them, or they only scored well on the test because some other reason that you can give for why that has happened, not considering that maybe they actually worked hard and they studied to pass the test. But if you pass a test, you're like, yes, I did it because I'm a badass, I'm smart, and everything. So that is the actor observer effect in real life example. So let's link it back to the article that spurred this podcast episode, this topic. And she's basically saying that everything, your judgment about everything is in relation to you. So if you may think that she gave an example of how she thought that she was a very hardworking person until she met someone who was upset at her for wanting to stop work to get lunch or dinner because she was hungry or tired or something like that. I don't remember the exact story, but or something like that. So your concept of what is lazy or hardworking will usually be in relation to you and your perception of yourself as either lazy or hardworking. If you're somebody who stays up all night, you're part of the 5 a.m. club, you're those CEOs that read 100 books a year and listen to podcasts on their 5 a.m. run, and when they have woken up at 4 a.m. to do office work or whatever, then anybody who doesn't do that by your standard and relative to you is lazy. Or if you're someone that you like doing something but other people don't like doing it, then your perception of them is in relation to you. Again, you are the marker of what is good and what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, and then you judge other people's actions or inactions and decisions and indecisions around you. And I think it's a kind of attribution error as well. Maybe not an attribution error, but there's probably like a psychological concept about it, but I can't remember and nothing comes to mind right now. But it's very interesting how we do that because you're making yourself the source of what is true, what is good, what is right, and you're not. What is good for someone else may not be good for you, or what is good for you may not be good for someone else. Not everybody prioritizes that life of super efficient productivity, hacking my way through life and doing all those things, and they're very content and happy with their lives and not wanting to wake up at 5 a.m. and listen to 100 podcasts and read 2,000 books a year. Like, they don't care about that, and that's okay. And you can't then judge the goodness or badness of their life or the quality of their life from your own perspective. If someone decides today, maybe they own a business and they decide to shut down their business and retire on a farm with their family, even though their business has the potential to grow into the multi-millions, that is their decision. What is important to them as they made that decision is not the same as what is important to you when you make your own decision. So if somebody doesn't want to go to an Ivy League school, it's because they don't care. If you want to go, then go and leave other people out of it. Yeah. And linking it to me personally, I've been thinking about the idea of oversharing and what does it mean to overshare. 10 years ago, when I was writing about my whole life on the internet, I didn't feel like I was oversharing. And I didn't think that it was weird. But now, looking back at it, I was like, girl, that was too much. That was a lot. And that's because the concept of what is enough to share for me has changed. And I can't then use that to judge someone else's decision to share about things. For someone else, even me doing this podcast, maybe oversharing, because for them, it's not necessarily like, why would you want to do this? Why would you want to get on the internet and talk about things? It doesn't make sense to them. And that is the joy and the beauty of life. Different things matter to different people. And even as a person, the degree to which things matter to you and the degree to which you consider something as important may change across the course of your life. And so you may look back at your past self and be like, that was weird. You were lazy, or you were oversharing, or you were undersharing, or you were too working too hard, or whatever. But it's always relative to who you are and where you are in that particular moment. And I don't mean where you are geographically, although that might be a thing, because in Carla's article she talked about how during COVID she was living close to a hospital and she was literally seeing people die daily, but her brother was living in somewhere else where he didn't really see that happening, and he thought that she was watching the news too much and being paranoid and overreacting. But both of them were right, because from her brother's perspective nothing was happening, but from her perspective, from what she was seeing, everything was happening. So to wrap it up, everything is relative. Well, most things. You are not the arbiter of truth and what is oversharing or undersharing, what is angst makes somebody a snowflake or not, what makes somebody lazy or crazy or paranoid or not. Yeah. Bye. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you enjoyed this episode or found any part of it insightful, don't forget to share with your friends on your social media, and be sure to leave a comment or a review if you can on your podcast listening app. Thank you.